So, with that being said, we have Parashat Bamidbar. We're starting a new book out of the 5 books of Moses. And this is certainly a different type of book than we had. The last book, the book of Leviticus, is full of interesting laws, although the book of Leviticus, ended with a couple of extraordinary stories and some very, very dear warnings for those that still have not made up their mind of whether they want to live a holy life or not. God simply stamps it into reality that anyone who doesn't will simply have to pay the bill at some point or another. But the truth be told, the sages say, why isn't Gehenom mentioned literally in the Torah itself? And one of the reasons the Rambam explains is that because the suffering that a person will endure during their life, if they don't follow the Torah, is detailed in the Torah. One of the examples is in Parashat Bechukotai, where all of those punishments are actually punishments of this world. And anyone that has watched my lectures for the last 10 years knows that I've spoken about my personal story a few times, discussing the different levels of suffering that, Baruch HaShem, thank God, we endured. And certainly suffering has a lot of blessing to it if you actually understand what's behind it. And that's one of the things we actually learn from Parashat Bamidbar. Initially, when we look at Parashat Bamidbar, it starts off with a commandment from God to do a census. Now, one of the things that the sages teach us is that we see that God asks Moshe, or commands Moshe, to do a census several times. This is not to say, God forbid, that he needed to know how many people are there, because obviously he's almighty, he's omnipotent, he's omnipresent, he's everywhere, he has no limitations, but rather he wanted to show Am Yisrael that he loves them. And one of the ways that you express love for something is when you care about it. You care about the quantity, you care about the quality. People that love money usually check their bank accounts and their stock portfolios and bitcoins and any other asset that they have on a regular basis. Sometimes you'll see the same person checking their phone 3 or 4 times during that day just to see if anything changed in one of those accounts. Obviously, their love for money is the primary reason behind it. People that care about things count them. And one of the things that Hashem wanted to show us multiple times throughout the Torah is that He loves us and He's counting us. But in addition to that, which we've discussed in previous years, we see that there is a lot to learn from the names and the numbers. We see that on one end, the first thing is that the census has specific conditions, where this census includes everyone except the Levi tribe. The Levi tribe is excluded. They're not counted as part of the census. They're counted later on, but not as part of the census. They're excluded. They are direct servants of God, and they have a specific position. The second thing we see is that the leaders are identified by name multiple times. And a third thing we see is also that the numbers between the different tribes vary drastically, where you have the conditions where they're only counting in the census everyone from the age of 20 to 60, because this is the age, the sages explain, this is the age of somebody being in the army, being able to go to war. Some, like the Ramban, for example, Nachmanides, say that it's not because these are the ones that were able to go to war, but rather because once you got out of your teenage years, you're now officially considered an adult. So, and you could serve God at a higher level and so on. But needless to say, we see that there are names. We see there are specific numbers. The tribe of Yehuda is significantly bigger than the tribe of Ephraim, Benjamin, Menashe, and the others. Dan is very big as well, but again, nowhere near as big as quantity as Yehuda. On the other hand, the one tribe that is excluded from the census has different conditions. Not only are they excluded from the census, but you also see that the conditions are different, where the census for the Levi tribe is from the age of 30 days old and up. So, in so many words, including everyone that's out of life risk. And the reason why we say life risk, there is a halachic term for a child that's born within the first 30 days. If the child, in essence, doesn't survive the first 30 days, the burial requirements and so on are very different than if they are above 30 days old. So we see that in essence, the census for the Levi tribe is, in so many words, everyone except the really, really newborn. The rest of the tribes, which is everyone else, everyone from the age of 20 to 60, which means that everyone under the age of 20, all the kids, as well as all the women, as well as all of the elders, are excluded from the census. So you would think, logically, that the number of levies that are counted here would be significantly higher than everyone else. And to your surprise and everyone else's, they're actually the least. In fact, the Ramban, Nachmanides, says that if the conditions of the Levi tribe's census were the same as the rest of the tribes, they wouldn't even amount to half of any of the tribes in total. Because some of the tribes are in the 30,000. But again, this is from age of 20 and up. So we see here that the number of levies was very, very few in comparison to everybody else. Why? Why are there so few levies? Furthermore, what can we learn from the names that are mentioned here, at least a few of them? Last but not least, how does all of this affect us in our days today, where we sometimes feel ourselves that the conditions in our life are a desert, meaning they're empty of blessing, full of difficulties and dangers, just like the desert was full of scorpions, snakes, and all types of enemies, like Amalek, that were trying to constantly attack Am Yisrael. Sometimes a person's life feels like that, where he goes to work, he works all day, she goes to work, she works all day, they come back with a check that's just enough to pay the bills, and sometimes not even. Where's the blessing? He does whatever he has to go on a shidduch date to find the perfect girl that's righteous, she's good, she's nice, she comes from a good family, she finds him, he finds her. Obviously all the appropriate steps are taken and they don't do anything immoral or anything that's forbidden before marriage. They finally get married and no kids. Or a big separation between the kids, as if they have to invent a kid each time. Where's the blessing? A person does whatever he can to build other people's companies. He succeeds drastically. And once he strikes out on his own, he figures that he's going to have at the very least the same success, if not more. And sometimes he's surprised that not only the success is not the same as it used to be, but rather failure seems almost like a definite. Why? Where is the blessing? Many times people ask about blessings in life. Most of the time, they ask about blessings that are relevant to money, to sustenance. But needless to say, there are blessings that are needed everywhere. One of the things we're going to learn from Parashat Bamidbar is that KADOSH Baruch Hu strategically put us in the desert, in the Midbar, in order to eliminate all possible distractions, where even the scorpions, the snakes, and anyone else that's outside of the camp was not able to attack us unless we let them in, or in so many words, let ourselves out. So when the Amalek wanted to attack us, they couldn't enter the camp. They had to attack whoever exited it. Anyone that left the camp and wanted to delve into the scenery of the desert outside of the camp many times got hurt. Why don't you just stay in? It's safe. It's holy. It's good here. Well, people always want to delve into things that are forbidden, or perhaps beyond the knowledge that they already have. As Shlomo HaMelech says, "Maim gnuvim imtaku," stolen water are sweeter. And people always want something that they can't have. Just like if somebody would take one cup of water, one bottle of water and pour two different cups, one is his, one of his friends, somehow if he takes his friend's drink also, the second one tastes better. Why? Stolen water are sweeter. It's forbidden, and therefore it has that extra taste that is imaginary, but needless to say, makes the person have a certain type of dopamine pleasure that makes them feel good about what they did before they go into the regret.
אם בחוקותיי תלכו ואת מצוותיי תשמעו ועשיתם אותם